Dolly lovers, and welcome back to my channel. First off, I want to apologize if you hear any noise coming from outside. I am next to my window because that's where the best lighting is and traffic does pass. But today I wanted to finally do this video of my Reborn doll comparison as far as their size and limbs and heads and things, so you guys can get a better understanding of doll measurements and what you can expect, because I will tell you, this was a trial and error for me figuring out my perfect doll size. I was unpleasantly surprised sometimes in the mail when a reborn baby would come and it was not as big as I expected it to be. And so hopefully this video will help you guys figure that out when you're choosing sculpts and trying to pinpoint your perfect size baby before you purchase. So I have all the babies in my collection except one lined up here, and I will tell you that Trinity is not in this video on the very end because Tehya and Trinity are both basically the same sculpt. They just have a different facial expression and different eyes, but the head size and the limbs and everything is exactly the same. So I just used Tehya in this video. Okay, so we'll start with the smallest, and you guys can get a general idea of how they look now side by side, because everybody's naked in their diapers. So the smallest of my reborn babies is little Trace here, and I have written this card down to make sure that I do not forget any measurements or anything. But here is Trace, and he is the smallest out of all my babies. He is the Reborn Thomas Asleep Sculpt by Bountiful Baby, and he measures 17 inches from head to toe, so that's pretty small. He is preemie sized. As you can see, I do believe he has like a preemie sized diaper on and it's swallowing him up. He is pretty small, and I couldn't find his head circumference measurement online, but I do have a soft tape measure, so I measured it myself, and he is around 13 inches. So his head all the way around is 13 inches in size. He is my Cuddle Baby, which means his head is vinyl like all the others, but his body, limbs, and legs are doe suede, but they're relatively the same size as the vinyl limbs would be. So there he is. Next, I have little Miss Truett, and you guys have seen her a lot lately in my videos. Truett is the Elyse sculpt by Cassie Brace, and online specifies that this sculpt is 22 inches in length, which means she'd be a 0 to 3 month size baby, and her head circumference is 15 inches. Online it'll say 14, but I measured it and it's 15, so just keep that in mind. Now, right next to Elyse sculpt is Maizie by Andrea Arcello. And I'm going to spend a little time talking about the comparison of these two, because when I got Maisie in the mail, I would say I was a little bit disappointed, because based on her measurements online, I really expected her to be a little bit closer size to what Tehya is. And surprisingly, her measurements are very, very similar to Tehya, but clearly she is smaller than Tehya, and we'll discuss that in a minute. I really felt that between the Elyse sculpt right here and Maisie right here, I thought Elyse was bigger. I was able to see the Elyse sculpt before I shipped it off to my artist, so I was able to see the blank kit. I have not seen the blank kit of Maisie, but based on that, I felt like Elyse was bigger. But generally, they are about the same size. The Mazie Sculpt by Andrea Arcello is 21 inches in length, which also makes a 0 to 3 month size baby, and her head circumference is 17 inches, whereas Elyse Sculpt head circumference is 15 inches. So technically, by the book, Maisie has the bigger head, but a 1 inch shorter body than Elyse does. So they're about what and what. But I feel like what really differentiates the two is their legs and their arms. The Elyse Sculpt arms are quite slimmer and they're more curled up. So that gives it a different look as well. Whereas the Mazie Sculpt arms are a little chubbier and they're more stretched out. The legs are both in like a froggy position. However, Maisie's legs are just a little bit chubbier, just a little bit, and she does have bigger and wider feet. So I do feel like that's where the difference comes in. When I'm holding them, I can really tell that the Mazie Sculpt is bigger, whereas Elyse kind of folds up right into my arms like a newborn would. I feel like out of all of my dolls, my Elyse Sculpt is more on the newborn side, and I can fit newborn size clothes, mostly onesies, on the Elyse Sculpt, and I can fit some newborn size clothes on the Mazie Sculpt, but it is a little tight. So 0 to 3 works best on her as far as onesies go, and as far as onesies go for my Elyse Sculpt, newborn works best. So there's just that little difference between the two if you're interested in getting one or the other. They're both limited edition and sold out, but I'm pretty sure you can find the sculpts somewhere in the dolly world. Somebody's going to be selling them. They probably will be extremely expensive, but if you really want one of these dolls in your collection, it's probably available somewhere out there for you to get. Now, what I thought was interesting was the head circumference. On the Elyse Sculpt, it's 15, and on the Maisie Sculpt, it's 17, which may not seem like a big difference in number, but when it comes to head circumferences, it makes a really huge difference. Personally, I feel like Elyse has a bigger head no matter what the measurements say, because I don't know, like her face, if you can put your hand over her face and it like your hand doesn't swallow up her whole face. It's about even. Whereas if I do that with the Mazie Sculpt, my hand totally swallows her face, like her whole head. I feel like her face is just really small for the head circumference and the expression, because usually when you smile, your face stretches out wider. I feel like her face could have been bigger to go along with the actual head size or something. Like, she's not unproportionate, but because of the measurements that are listed online, I feel like she could have easily been a good 6 month size baby, given her expression and everything. And I would say I was a little bit disappointed when I got her about how small and slim she was for the measurements. And I think that's what really makes a difference, is the width of the body when it's all put together. Because we go by the measurements online and then you get a doll in the mail and you're like, dang, I thought it was going to be bigger than this. But you really need to see the assembled doll, especially next to a doll that you know how it looks in person. So if you can find videos of dolls already assembled and you can see them in comparison to other dolls that you may already have, that makes it a whole lot easier. I'm gonna move on to my last baby here, and these measurements are for the Elliot, Easton, and Grant 6 month size baby by Michelle Fagan. All three of those sculpts are found on Bountiful Baby website, and I named all three, even though I have two of the three, because the head size, the limbs, and the legs are all the same for each sculpt. It's just that the eyes and the expression are different for each one. So like I said, Tehya right here is the Elliot sculpt, and Trinity, not in this video, is the Easton sculpt. You can see pictures of Grant sculpt on the Bountiful Baby website if you're interested. But like I said, the head size, the limbs, and the legs are all the same for all three sculpts. Now, this baby measures at a whopping 23 inches, which clearly makes a 3 to 6 month size baby. And I say 3 to 6 really loosely. It's mostly like 6 months. And the way that a lot of the baby clothes run these days, it's easy to fit them in 12-month size clothes because clothes run so small. But technically, she is a 6 to 7 month size baby. And her head is big, y'all. Even though Andrea's head is literally measured at 17 inches, I checked myself because I didn't believe it. This sculpt on this baby is 16 and a half inches. Can you believe that? And look at the difference of their size. So you really kind of got to put a tape measure to it. And the size really doesn't matter when it comes to the head. I really thought I had this pinpointed down. That if I can tell by the size of the head, I'll know generally what kind of baby it'll come out to be. But no, like you really can't tell until you get to the length of the body and the width of the body. And how everything is going to be put together. You really cannot tell. Because there's only half an inch between these two heads. Yet there's like 2 or 3 sizes in between these babies. Like there is no way that I can fit clothes from Tatiana on Tehya. Like no way. None. Zero way. But yet their head sizes are very, very close in measurement. So it's just so many factors in picking your perfect doll. But generally, if you can see the doll put together side by side, another sculpt that you know, it really gives you a perspective of what you're going to get when your doll comes. But Tehya is 23 inches long. She wears 6 month size clothes and her head measures 16 and a half inches. So yeah, you guys, I don't know if any of that helped. It may be a little bit confusing. I'm so sorry, but it really is kind of trial and error if you're just starting in the Reborn doll community. But I have sold and purchased so many dolls. You just kind of, you get to know the similarities after a while, and you really get to pinpoint what you like exactly. I will say that I love bigger size babies. Like Tehya is my favorite size of baby, and which is such a tiny step right before toddler size, but I feel like they're the perfect size. Between 23 and 25 inches is like the perfect size for me. They're small enough to cuddle and hold, but their limbs aren't too long and crazy. Whereas I feel like toddler dolls, they're really not for cuddling as much as I would like. They're really good display dolls, in my opinion, for my taste. I feel like these size babies are great still for cuddling, and you still get the bigger size baby and the bigger head for a lot more hair to play with and things like that. But after having Elyse for a while, little Miss Truett, it is really nice having like newborn 3 month size baby to cuddle with. Like I'm really happy with that. I know the previous baby that I ended up returning to the seller, I can't remember the name of that sculpt for the life of me, but I had named her Tuesday. If you check back a few videos, you remember something on her. But she was around newborn size as well, and I just did not bond with her at all because she was just too small. And I feel like even though they were both about the same size as this doll here, her body was not wide enough like I liked or a little long enough, and her head was too small. So it really makes a difference. No matter what the numbers say, it really makes a difference on the length and width of the body that the doll is on and the size of their head in picking out the perfect size for you. Because like I said, Maisie and Elyse are very similar in measurements, but I just get a total different overall feeling for these dolls based on the width of their bodies and the sizes of their heads. So you can clearly see Maisie has the wider body, whereas Elyse has a slimmer body. So yeah, that is going to be it for this doll size comparison, and I mainly put little Pee-wee in here so you can really see the difference, because Preemie is really small, and now they have micro Preemie fairies and things that are even smaller than him. Like, I can literally fit him in a average sized shoebox. Which is funny because I was a preemie when I was born, and my mom said the same thing. Like, she could literally fit me in a shoebox. I was that small. So, that was a fun fact for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. All the babies are undressed because I have some Valentine's Day themed outfits picked out. Thank you so much to um Thank you so much to Miss Billy for these adorable onesies that she gifted to me a while back. I have been saving them for this purpose because I know I don't usually put red on my babies because I don't have any red. But I'm so glad to have these onesies because they're going to be awesome for Valentine's Day season. Not sure if I'll be able to do a photo shoot because the weather has been crazy. But all the babies will be dressed in red, silver, black, and white. There will be no pink. I have lots of pink, and I really wanted to use those onesies. So everybody will be dressed in red, black, and white for the holiday. And this video was the perfect opportunity to do that because they're all undressed and I have to dress them all back. So, yeah, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.